Hello. The good people at Evolution Power Tools UK have sent me this Evolution R255 SMS DB Plus sliding mitre saw for me to have a look at, give it a try and do a review, and which I'm more than happy to do. And so I received this, and to my surprise, I also received this, the stand for the saw. So it's a mitre saw stand that will, and you can fit more or less any mitre saw onto this, but certainly the full range of the Evolution ones. But I do know somebody else that's got one, and he's got a different brand of saw, but it fits very well onto this stand as well, and I know that it's a very strong stand, and it's great, and it's a great thing to use, which we do use on site. So it's a great bit of kit, but we'll stick with the saw for now, and I'll just show you a little bit around the box, just to explain a little bit about what it does. Okay, so this model is the R255 SMS-DB Plus. The 255 is the size of the blade, which is 255mm. The SMS is the sliding mitre saw, and the DB is a double bevel, so it tilts to the left and to the right. So here, a couple of things, or a few things. You can see it's got a 3-year warranty. This pack comes with 2 blades, so you've got one for cutting multi-materials, and the other blade is for cutting wood. Here you can see some of the materials that it'll cut: copper and mild steel, wood. If you do happen to cut any pieces of wood with nails in, that's not a problem. Plastic pipes, I'm guessing that's aluminium. It's got a 200-watt motor, as I say, the 255mm blades. It'll do a 300mm long cut, so it'll the saw will come out and cut 300mm width of wood, and at that it'll cut through 90mm with this 255mm blade. If you put it on a 45-degree angle, it will cut through 52mm. If you cut it at 45 degrees, the length of the cut is reduced to, or the length of the piece of wood that you can cut is reduced to 212mm, and of course it'll still cut down 90mm. And if you're doing a compound mitre, which is what this is, so you're cutting at an angle that way, but you've also got the table, the blade tilted over at an angle as well, it'll again cut through a 212mm piece and 52mm in depth. The saw will tilt to 50 degrees each way that way, and it'll do a bevel at 45 degrees both ways. I'm going to do a fairly brief unboxing because, well, I'm not a big fan of the unboxings, but just to show that I haven't had it open. I've been looking forward to this. I've had it for a few days, and I haven't been able to look at it because I didn't want to do it until I got time to film. So So there we go. We've got some instructions. Oh no, that's not instructions. That's the two blades. We've got instructions and the machine itself, which looks as though it's very well packaged. And this is that's the main body of the machine inside there. And then we've got the track and a few other bits and bobs. What I'll do now, I'll get it all out of the box, spread it out on the table, and we'll have a look at what we've got. Here are all the parts laid out on the bench. We've got the base here, we've got the body of the machine and the motor, we've got the track that this runs on, we've got bed extenders, we've got a lockdown clamp. I think this is a little thing for holding the wire cable in place. We've got a little dust bag and another clamp that holds the material against the fence, which I'll show you later, and a couple of knobs. The knob for the front and a knob for the top for the slider. So yeah, pretty simple by the look of it. So we'll put it together and see how we go. Slider goes in, little nut on the top, little knob on the top, locks that into place, nice and simple. Get you a little bit closer. There we go. We've got the instructions. It's just an expanded view of the machine, so it's all very simple. You can see where everything goes. Body, you can see we've got two holes there, and they fit. Get you a good angle there. They fit onto the end of those. Let's lock that down so it doesn't move. And that just snaps into place, and there's no mistake where when it's in place, because it's a very solid snap into place. The cable, that's a 4 metre length cable, which is really great. There's nothing worse than having a machine with a short cable that you're having to put an extension to. We've actually got, you can see that, we've got a Allen key that's kept in a little space there, little hole there for use on the assembly and any adjustments. this little gizmo here holds the locks the head down for transport and things. You just pull it out and it raises. It's locked in place again, and to unlock it you press this forward and that releases it. It's locked and release. And if you want to hold it down again, just pop that back in. Nice and simple. There is a lock here for locking the blade in place when you're changing the blade out. You just see it just there, a little sprung lever. Okay, we're going to fit the blade now. We've got the multi-material blade here, and it's 255mm across, and it's got a 1-inch bore in the centre. It says there. So we'll take that little nut out, bolt, and the washer, and here is the back of it. It takes this 1-inch blade. So we release that, lift the guard up, fit the blade in. We know that the blade is going to be turning that way, and here we've got an arrow on the blade, so we can't get it mixed up. Slide it over that. We can let the guard down now. Put the washer over it. It fits in that little slot, and pop that bolt back in. And again, so to release it, it's clockwise, and to tighten it up, it's anti-clockwise, which is the opposite to most things, but because the blade spins that way, it's always tightening it up. We've got the little knob at the back, if I can find it with my fingers. Have a quick look. Oh, further up than I thought. That will wrong way. That will lock the blade when it engages. There, it's just engaged. I'll lock the blade in place so you can tighten that up, and it's popped out, so it should be free. Yeah, there you go. It's free to go. So that's the blade fitted. Very simple. What else have we got? I'll show you. Yeah, I can move that up to show you where the little Allen key fits in there. Nice, there's a little rubber washer there that holds it so it doesn't vibrate back out again. Very simple. Spin the machine around. The knob on the front, bring it down, there we go. Couldn't be any easier, just screws in. And that tightens it up, that locks it in place so it won't move when it's locked in place. Loosen it off and it moves. Okay, we'll fit the lockdown clamp, which fits into that hole. Not too far down because it seems to interfere with that. So lock that up, and that little one allows you to move the fence, so you can move the fence over there when this is not in the way. Move the fence over there, but if you want to do a 45-degree cut this way, you have to move it back this way and lock it up again. That one allows this to go up and down. We've got a button on the side which allows you to move it up and down without having to turn it all the way, and then for the final adjustments you can just turn that to lock it down. And this here, handy little shape, because if you put something round underneath it, like that for instance, it'll lock onto it and hold it down, whereas a flat clamp, it'd just allow it to move around. So that's quite a good little good idea. This is a really nice idea. It's another locking clamp, and it pops into that hole, and let's say for instance you wanted to put a piece on there and you wanted to fasten it nicely against that. You just push it up to it, allow that to go down, turn the screw, and that's really firmly held it down, or held it against the fence, so you've got no chance of it moving around. I haven't seen that on any chop saw before, and I've used a fair few chop saws or sliding mitre saws, and I haven't seen that feature before, and it's a really good idea. Simple idea, but works really well, and it's machined. It's very solid, so that's good. Right, one more thing, and that's the little cable holder at the back. We have the packet. My fingers are really cold this morning. It's been freezing of late, and my workshop's not the warmest place. So this is a little clip so you can wrap the cord round, and also it holds that. Get it the right way around. Holds that in place. There. Just in case of pushing that into there. Everything's, as I say, everything's a bit cold this morning. So that fits on there. Got the screw there, which the Allen key again fits. That's the only tool I've used to put everything together, and that just holds that cord in place, sliding backwards and forwards. Everything's out of the way, and you haven't any chance of that getting wrapped round anything. That's that in place. Lock it down. We've got a hole here. If you want to fit an extractor on there, you can put your shop vac or whatever onto that, and it'll help to suck some of the dust away. But we've also got this dust bag that'll help to collect it, and that can that's used instead of that, so that will fit over that. And not sure when we, so that's, yes, that's okay, and that'll catch a fair bit of the dust. Everything nice and tidy, and just pop that on there. It's all nice and neat, and that's it. That's it assembled. Okay, it's all assembled. The first feature that I'll show you is the double bevel part of it. In case you don't know what that is, you see here, it shows you that to put it on a 45-degree bevel, you have to extend those guards out to the right to the outside, otherwise it interferes with the head. And to take it over to 45 to the left, you release that lever at the back and it will move over to 45 degrees and you'll slide across. And if you want to move it to 45 degrees to the right, you pull the knob out and it allows it, unlock the back, and it allows it to move down to 45, and again you've got to pull that guard, that fence, right out to the outside, otherwise it just catches here. And there we've got free movement, and you can make your cut there. Another feature which is unusual, I haven't seen before, is that little rod, and when it's up in the up position, 90 degrees, you can push that rod forward, and there's the same thing on the other side, and when you move it over it comes up and hits that stopper, and that stops it at 33.9 degrees, and that's something I haven't seen on another machine before. So you run it back until it clicks and then bring it back and it's up into the 90 degrees. Yeah, but I haven't seen that on anything before, which is quite useful. While we're here, there's a depth stop on here. Just see it there. And without that down, this goes all the way down to the bottom. If you bring that down, it brings a little metal plate down, and this screw hits the metal plate, and you can adjust that there, you can see that, you can adjust that up or down to raise or lower the height of the cut, so it'll stay at that, and you can lock it down with that locking nut there, so it'll only cut to that depth. Really useful, that feature. Okay, the button at the front, if we loosen that off, there's a little lever underneath. If we flip that up, this can be moved across. Now it's got several points there which are sort of the common angles that you'll use most. So it moves over to 15 degrees, 22.5, 31.6, then over to 45, and it will actually go over to 50 if you do want to put a greater angle on it. So with that at an angle, you can also then loosen the saw off at the back, and you can move the saw over to 45 degrees, and you can make a cut at you can make a cut at 45 degrees that way, and well, if you move it over a bit more, 45 degrees that way, and that's a compound mitre cut. So move it back, pull that back up, lock it off at the back, center that back on the knot, tighten it up again, and it's nice and firm again. This whole base is machined really nicely. It's really flat and really solid. It's aluminium, but it's which makes it nice and, well, it's not light by any means, but it is movable. If it were all cast iron, it'd be crazy heavy. But it is really nicely machined, and but still light enough to move around. The laser you can put on with this button on the side here, and just press that down, and it shines a line on the right hand side of the blade. So if you take a measurement put a line there, get your laser lined up with it. You've got a good clear line there to guide you, which is quite nice. And if you don't want it on, just flip that button off and you're good. The machine has got a soft start, which not all Mitre saws have, and I've had them. I've used Mitre saws where it's got a hard start, and you press it on, and it actually moves the whole saw. Sometimes it twists it to one side. The sort of centrifugal force of the blade suddenly spinning is quite a jolt. Whereas this, it's got a nice, see there? Got a nice soft start, and it stops fairly quick as well. It's obviously got some kind of brake on it. So it's a nice motion on it. I really like that, because as I say, I've used other ones and they've not been anywhere near as nice as that. The guard's nice and simple. That is good. That can be a bit awkward on some machines. Keeps out the way nicely, and yeah, the whole thing works very well. The motor body is well out of the way for doing the mitres. It's also got a gauge here, so if you want to cut a 4 cm piece, I'll show you. Let's go for 8 centimetres. I'll put a little mark at 8 centimetres. If we put that piece of wood, get rid of those little bits, on that 8 centimetre mark, I've got my 8 centimetres marked there. If I put the laser on, you can see there it's pretty much on the line. It's the left hand side of the red line, which is pretty much bang on there. So you've got that. So if you want to make any multiple cuts, or you don't want to bother measuring it, you can just put it on there, 10 centimeters, 12, or if you're an American, 4 inch or 5 inch, and you can make a cut and you know that it's going to be pretty accurate. We're going to be cutting through a few different materials now. Start off with a piece of 6x1 pine. We'll put the line on just to show it. Lovely clean cut. Now we'll go through a piece of wood with some nails in, fix this one down nice and solid with the clamp. Whenever you're cutting any metal, I would always recommend fixing it with the clamp. You don't want anything moving. Let's try this. And when you're cutting anything with metal, make sure you're wearing eye protection. There. You couldn't even tell that it was there. I cut through that easily. I've got a piece of copper. Again, I'll make sure it's clamped down. And when you're bringing the blade down, come down slowly. You don't want to be jabbing it down, because the teeth will grab, and that's when accidents happen. A nice clean cut on that one. We've got a piece of aluminium. Clamp down again. And when you're cutting anything like this, be especially careful because there's a lot of wobble there, so you want to do it very gently. And again, nice clean cut, just a bit of finishing off with a file there. What else have we got? Oh, we've got a piece of mild steel box section. Again, you can't get a square cut like that by doing it with a angle grinder or a hacksaw. That's a really nice cut. And the last thing, a piece of plastic pipe. And a nice square end again. Okay, now let's just check to see what it comes like out of the box. We'll have a look at the squareness of it, the blade to the base, and that is perfect. I'm looking down it and there's not a chink of light coming from there, so that's nice and straight. We'll do a couple of cuts just to make sure. So I'll put the power back on. This is a piece of melamine, or formica rather. Put the square on, and that's a nice square cut. Unlock it, flick it up, just make sure we're on camera, yep. Put it on 45, lock it up. Check that. Let's try it the other way, get a better view of it, and that's perfect as well. Another good way of trying it is to put the two together, and we should have got a nice 90-degree angle, which we have. Okay, so we can do a couple of simple joints. We can do a mitre joint, so bring it round to 45. bit of tear out there, but there we have a mitre joint, sort of thing you'd use for a frame of some kind. Use the other side, and if we leave it at the 45 and we cut it the other way, then we've also got a mitre joint, as you see there, nice and square, and a good joint there. One joint that I use quite a lot at work is a dado joint. I use it for mostly when I'm doing a door lining and I want to join two pieces of wood together. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll just cut this in half. And if I want to join this piece to this piece, I'll draw a line at each side of the piece of wood. Then if I want to come down roughly halfway, I can just make sure you can see this. There we go. I can set this stop, this depth stop. If I mark it at halfway on the side, I can bring the blade down until it lines up halfway down, which is there, and then I bring the depth stop to that point, lock it up, and then I know it's only going to go halfway down, and I can put a series of cuts. I'll put the laser on. I can do a series of cuts. One thing you do have to remember with this is that when you raise the blade up, when you're only cutting part way down, it doesn't go all the way to the back. It doesn't cut through all the way to the back. So you do have to put a sacrificial piece at the back so you can get your cut all the way through. So we'll just line that up again. And then we move the piece along until we're lined up with the other side. And then we just do a series of cuts just to take out the wood in between. Then we get a nice sharp chisel, just run it down there to take any little bits that we haven't caught. Piece there, we've got that cleaned up, and that should put it down on the bottom with a little bit of persuasion. And that, with a bit of gluing, that makes a really strong joint. And yeah, that's not coming apart. And it's really simple as well, and quick. So that's a good one. And that's the beauty of the depth stop on the chop saw. I'm going to do a simple project just to show you the sort of things that you could make. I'm going to make a little cheese board, not too big, about 250mm and perhaps 200mm wide, perhaps a bit less. Just a small board, just to give you an idea of something that you could make. So we'll do a cut off first, just to get a nice square edge on both boards. Measure 250mm. That's about just under 10 inches. You can use a laser. That's one of the boards. I've got two boards the same size. I want to cut the ends off nice and make sure they're nice and flat. Okay, so just to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to cut some angles on each one of these, and you'll see what happens later. I'm going to move the saw over to cut at a 5-degree angle. And then back to naught.
Here I'm using a piece of timber to clamp the piece of wood that I'm going to cut, clamp it down, because my fingers would be too close to the blade to cut that safely.
Right, this piece is too narrow to cut safely, so I'm going to put a piece there to rest it up against so that it doesn't slide through that gap, and then I'm going to stick a temporary piece to the side of it. I'll use some Mitre, and this is just to hold it long enough to make the cut.
Or CA glue.
activator on the side of the piece, and then just use the fence as a way of keeping it all straight. Put those two pieces together. Right, that's set up nicely now. Yeah, that's good. So we can put that back, and now we can keep our fingers well clear of the piece. Find out where it is, where we're going to make the cut, which is there. We're not quite through. There we go. Snap that off. And then we do exactly the same with the other piece. Okay. A bit of light, getting dark. Right, so we've got two lots with basically a load of wedges, and the idea is that we can alternate them. One of those, there, there. There. We flip those over. There should be a point where they all square at the ends as well. There we are. Then we can glue those together. I would recommend PVA glue. Just clamp them together with PVA glue in between, and that'd be good. But for the in the interest of speed, I'm gonna stick them together and come back when they're done. So I'll come back when they've been stuck together. Okay, the glue's set. You see the little pattern that we've got. Quite nice without a lot of effort. So what we can do now is we can cut it square, because obviously at the ends they're not quite even. There. So we know it's nice and square now. We'll just sand up the surface a bit. Okay, so we've got the top sanded up. Now what we could do is put a chamfer around the top edge, just to make it look a bit smarter. So, release the knob at the back, the lever, let it rock down to 45 degrees. I'll put our little laser line on. Gives an idea where it's going. And I'm going to put the laser line close to the edge because it's cutting this side of the laser line. Back up to the top. Just do a little bit of sanding on that. Okay, that's it sanded up on the edges. All that's left is because it's going to be used for food products, I've got some mineral oil that's safe with foodstuffs. Just work it into the wood a bit, especially on the end grain where it'll suck up quite a bit of the oil. Wipe off any excess. It'll probably pay to go along and put another coat on it when this is dried, but you get the idea anyway. And there we have a lovely little cutting board for perhaps cheese or something like that. Yeah, this was panga, and this wood is ash, so it's a nice contrast between the two different woods. Both very hard woods, and the saws cut through it really easily, and yeah, and the saw cuts haven't left much finishing off to do really. All nice tight joints, nice good cuts. And yeah, without I mean, I've done this quite quickly. Take your time with it and enjoy it, and you can do a little project like that really easily with this saw, and actually produce something quite nice and useful with it. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the Evolution Mitre saw stand. I'll give you a few dimensions when it's assembled. Firstly, it's suitable for most mitre saw and sliding mitre saws. The length of the stand is 110 centimetres, the height 75 centimetres, the width is 60 centimetres, and when it's fully extended with the external roller supports, it's 180 centimetres, and it weighs in at 14.7 kilograms. So it's quite a hefty piece of kit. Let's get it open and see what we've got. As I say, a friend of mine's got one of these. He's got a different saw on there, but we've been using it on site for quite a long time now, and I was very impressed with the build quality, and it certainly stood up to the rigours of on-site work. Right, these are the gizmos that you can clamp clamp to the bottom of your mitre saw, and then attach. They will attach then to the stand. It's very well packaged. We've got the rollers. Some knobs and the stand itself. We'll just slide that to there, and looks like something for the extending rollers, I'm guessing. That's that. I'll draw you around this side, it'll be a bit easier to see. So we've got these brackets fit on there, knob on the bottom, tighten it up, we've got a knob on the back. These are all the same, so you can't get them mixed up. That will clamp it in place, nice and solid. Then we get one of the rollers, with that facing inwards through the hole, he says. Again, pop one of the knobs on, really solid. Spin it round. Repeat the procedure. Okay, do the same on this side. Tighten that up. And basically that's the thing put together. So we just turn it over, and here there's a sort of a button that just presses in, and that allows the leg to come out. It locks back in. Same at this side. Feel around the side of it. The button. There it is. Take that sheet protection off, locks in again. Same with this one. And this one. And that is our stand. Nice and solid, that's going nowhere. Really good tubes, and it's all machined, and it's built very solidly. Very impressed with it. Okay, I've got the machine on its side. This is probably the fiddliest bit of the whole operation, is getting these on. So I've got these bolts, and they go through the holes that you could use these holes to fix to a bench, you know, a wooden table or bench. So pop those in that little slot. You've got square ends so it doesn't turn. Pop it in through there. This is where it gets a little bit fiddly. Want a washer and a sprung washer, and then we've got a choice between nuts, or we've got some wing nuts. I'm going to use the wing nut just in case I ever want to take it off. Tighten that up a bit, and then we do the same thing up here. A washer, a sprung washer, and another wing nut. And if you loosen those off, there's a little bit of movement to and fro with that. We'll put it on the saw and adjust it later, but we'll tighten those up. I'll do exactly the same thing on the other side, and the handle goes to the front of the machine, so you can hardly go wrong with that. I'll just pop the other one on and then show you how to fit it onto the stand. Okay, we've got the brackets fixed to the bottom, nice and secure. We've got the stand over here. Just be careful picking up the chop saw. It's quite heavy now. So I'll pick it up, and what I want to do is to hook it under the front onto this tube section, and then we gently press it backwards until it locates on the back tube, and then we push those two handles down, and that is the saw really nice and secure, held in place, and that's going nowhere until you pop those handles back up. As I say, it's a simple, really simple setup, and it's well put together, and it really does work well. So we've got the same stand set up. Now we want to just set up the rollers. So if I get something flat, I've got my 6 foot level, spirit level there, which should work nicely. And we can adjust the rollers until they're in line with the top here. This one, just extend it a little bit, and then just undo that knob, bring it up until it's just touching the bottom of the spirit level. If anything, perhaps just slightly lower than it, because what you don't want to do is you don't want the centre to be lower than the two sides, because when you cut through, what it does, it drops as it's cutting and it pinches the blade. Whereas if they're slightly lower, they just slightly ease off the cut, so the cut slightly opens up, which is a much safer way. Okay, I've got a long piece of timber, and you can see where the benefit of these rollers come in. If you've got a long piece like this, and you're trying to cut the end off, it's always wanting to rock down, and you really have to press hard here to make your cut. But because these extend out so far, we can pull them out here, lock it up, and the timber is supported on what looks to be about best part of a metre there. So so there's much less pressure pushing on the end, and you can well, I mean, you can lock it down as well if you want to. Lock that down, and then make the cut without any problem. And that's the beauty of the rollers. Obviously, if you've got a very long piece and you want to cut it in half, you can rest the other side on the other roller, and then both sides are supported. Also, when you've done the cut, instead of it just dropping down, it holds it in place, so there's less chance of any accidents with anything dropping off or anything. So yeah, that works really well. I'll just plug it in and I'll show you a couple of cuts. Okay, so first we'll do the cut on the end. Nice and easy, only having to hold it down with very little pressure. And then if we've got a long piece, we want to cut it in the middle, pop it there, and both ends are supported. Nice and easy. Okay, so there we have it. The Evolution sliding mitre saw and stand. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Evolution have given me a promotion code of Cornish, that's C-O-R-N-I-S-H, and if you are buying one and you enter that word, then you get a 5% discount. So that's quite useful, and I'll just pop those details at the bottom of the underneath the video where the description is, so you can see it as well there. Anyway, hopefully I haven't gone on too long, and anyway, so my name's Andy Paramore. This is Andy's Cornish Creations, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.